Welcome to the Nine's Summoning Insight, brought to you by AT&T. As you may notice, we're not doing a regular show this week. In fact, we are pre-recording the show because my internet is still shit during this pandemic, and I don't actually have enough upload capacity to do the stream live. So
You've also gone back in time. We're in the 90s now or something. Like.
So we are going to have to watch some of the old TSM like GameCribs and other content that you guys sent us that you wanted us to take a look at. But we do have an opportunity to at least talk a little bit about some of the games. Now, bear in mind we're recording this on Monday, and all of the tiebreakers are happening tonight, so we sort of have to be a little bit speculative when it comes to the LCS. Also, I haven't had a chance because of Flashpoint to catch up on LEC games this weekend, but I promise you guys, I'm getting my internet service changed to AT&T Fiber. So next week, we will be able to do an actual, real show. But we can talk about Cloud9, first off, and their defeat of Team Liquid in a very interesting game.
I don't know what Team Liquid... Team Liquid must have done something really bad in a past life, because the way this whole split's gone is like, they just can't catch a break, can they?
I thought they didn't even play that badly.
No, Team Liquid was good in this game. That's what I mean. The way they lost was like the most... in a game that you could not afford to lose, the way they lost is about the most brutal way it could happen to you.
Yeah, I also really didn't like Cloud9's draft. And in a way, I think they were super lucky to get a Cloud Soul because they were playing what is an earlier mid-game composition with the Olaf and the Rumble and the Renekton. And Cloud Soul's obviously great because you can actually gap close in the late game because once you pop your ult, right, you get the boost in terms of the speed. So, hold on, I'm dropping my mouse. So yeah, that was actually a pretty clutch factor for them. But even the way they lost with that backdoor, just like with Sven and Vulcan. But also at the same time, that shows that what I've been saying is Cloud9's very good at reacting to unique situations, and that's a hallmark of top teams in the world.
What was that sound I just heard?
That was Slack. I've got to
all right. It sounded like someone opened like a fucking cork behind my ear or something. Like.
No. Yeah, sorry.
All right.
Well, I'll get that fixed. But not right now. So you might hear more.
Fair enough.
We'll probably wig out some people who are listening to this.
The thing is, though, so we're going to talk a little bit about LCS now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about Cloud9 and Team Liquid. Like, that match is obviously heartbreaking. I do think that it's very important that Cloud9 got that win because if Team Liquid was able to squeak into playoffs, they're still 100% capable of winning the whole thing. So it was dangerous. Like, I think that probably eliminated Cloud9's actual biggest competitor in the playoffs, even though they have a shit record right now.
The biggest problem in all games, you'll see this if you go and listen to analysts in any game, is the most dangerous team is always the team that's terrible, everything's going bad, but the player strength means that they have a mad puncher's chance. And that obviously goes for Team Liquid. Like, look at some of the players here. You might not even need the team. You might just need one player to have an amazing playoff run, and suddenly you'd be in it again. So I'm pretty sure everyone who's a good team in LCS is glad that Team Liquid's eliminated now. TSM, Cloud9, of course, everyone is.
Well, TSM maybe. I mean, I actually don't think there's much competition for Cloud9 at this point. I think Team Liquid was probably the team that had the best chance of beating them. And otherwise, I think it's going to be really, really rough.
Well, especially because in theory, TSM was the only other legit-looking team. Like you saw, FlyQuest fell off towards the end. Immortals actually became one of the worst teams, despite being second for a while. EG's up there. Like, none of these teams are believable. And the fact that I saw the other day, because I watched it, just it was hilarious, where Dig actually beat TSM. Like, mate, Dig's terrible at this point in time. If they're going to beat TSM,
beat TSM too.
That's so worrying if you actually want to believe TSM can win the split. They can't. They're probably just the second best team at this point in time.
Like, we've seen teams that started the split super strong. We look at, like, FlyQuest and Dignitas. They fell off really, really hard. And then the other side of this is that we saw teams like EG and 100 Thieves slowly get better.
They kind of with the second half teams, right?
Yeah. But even with that in mind, it's still not a great chance for them. Like, I just don't see 100 Thieves being able to on the strength of their players. Because even though
their rosters are too flawed,
better,
aren't they? Yeah.
He's still not up to the level of other mids, and he got dumpstered by Bjergsen in lane in that game. So I think it's
and look how many of their wins came once they came online.
All right,
they started tearing it up.
Before we continue this conversation, I am going to turn off Slack. It's getting super annoying. So hold on. All right, sorry about that interlude. I'm back now. I turned off the Slack notifications not to confuse you guys. So, how do you feel about moving into the LEC playoffs? Because I didn't see many games this week, but last week it looked like G2 and Fnatic are in really good form right now. It seems like LEC playoffs are going to be super exciting.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, when I was doing my European show, actually a bunch of people have now started to go more towards the side that they think Fnatic's actually going to win the split. They're going to beat G2, because Fnatic does look in really good shape right now, which is key, because even at the last year when Fnatic got their shit together, etc., most people, in fact practically everyone, still said G2 would win all the split and that no one could beat them and blah blah blah, the rest of it. So I actually think that whole role swap between Caps and Perks has actually now been significant enough in the game that people think that Fnatic can be the champion. So, but the problem with that is that builds in its own storyline. Like if this was a movie, yeah, obviously Act 1 would be Fnatic wins this split and then G2 just role swaps back, don't they? And then you have the
Yeah,
real
exactly,
match. That would obviously be Act 2, wouldn't it? You know.
Exactly. I think that's the problem when we talk about this. Is like
They have
there's
the
always
ultimate get out of jail free card.
It's the like Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die, where he's gonna like switch his hand. He's just fighting left-handed this whole
exactly.
time. Like I think that's the Princess Bride quality definitely to this is pretty crazy.
You basically can't lose if you're G2, because the joke is this: if you win with Caps as ADC, you're just like, ha, we can do anything and win. And if you lose, you go, well, I wasn't really trying anyway. So, right, swap back around, right, fuck you.
Yeah,
exactly. It's bullshit. It actually is bullshit if anyone. Like, if Fnatic beats them, I always feel bad for them. It almost feels unfair.
That is a little bit rough. I mean, I think we'll have to wait and see how that one goes, obviously, but I think that it seems likely that, you know, this is probably going to fail, but you never know. I think that's the problem with G2 is that they are so incredibly unpredictable and they could just snap into form at any time. And honestly, they're still doing super well. So
really
it's not
team, yeah.
It's not like, well, Team Liquid could come back into form, but they have this really shit record. They're still towards the top of the standings, and, you know, they may not be performing up to their usual standards, even up to Fnatic standards, but there's still that issue where they can beat anybody on planet Earth. So I think that's definitely going to be something to watch. So I'm sorry, guys. We're going to cut off the conversation there. We will be back next week with more actual content for you when it comes to discussing the latest matches. I would love to dive into the tiebreakers, obviously, but those haven't been played yet. So we're going to have to come back to that later on. In the meantime, we're going to have you take a look at the C9 roundup right now, and then we will take a dive into League of Legends esports history. And oh god, comedy gold, content gold, but a cesspool of things that you might not remember or haven't seen in a long time. So enjoy.
I'm predicting it's going to be better than we remember.
Of course it is. Breaking Point was way better than we remembered.
It was.
All right.
Howdy there, buckaroos and buckarettes. It's time for another edition of your favorite Nines intermission, the Cloud9 Roundup. This week it was all good news in League of Legends. Of course, the LCS team another 2-0 against Evil Geniuses and Team Liquid. And you know what? That means that our back-to-back LCS champion Team Liquid, well, they ain't gonna be in playoffs no more. It is all Cloud9's for the taking as they end their LCS season with a 17-1 record. Congratulations and good luck in the upcoming playoffs. Not only that, but Vulcan was named Player of the Week. And the good League of Legends news doesn't stop there. LoL Academy team, now they went 2-0 against EG Academy and Team Liquid Academy to end their split strong. Cloud9 still developing the up-and-coming talent of tomorrow. Moving on to some unfortunate news over in Rocket League. Cloud9's Rocket League team, well, they lost 1-4 to Ghost Gaming. That will eliminate them from the RLCS in a regional championship. Better luck next time, partners. Lots of news in Rainbow Six for Cloud9. Now, they're going to take home the win with a 3-0 against Talon Esports and finish #1 in the Korea Open Championship. Congratulations. That's not all, though. Rainbow Six Pro League Season 11 in the Asia-Pacific region. Now, they had 2 tie games versus Scars and Axiomatic, but they also lost to Scars and then beat Axiomatic 7-5. That means that they are going to finish #2 overall on the season. So a strong finish, and congrats to Rainbow Six. On CSGO's side, Close loss to Team Envy in Flashpoint Phase 2. But keep in mind that they did take the win over Orglis in the Flashpoint series 2-1 in Phase 1, which means they are the Flashpoint winner of their group. Now, this is going to give them some very important playoff points, and they are likely to make that top 8 and see if they can make a run for some of that $1 million prize pool. Finally, in Overwatch, contenders. British Hurricanes 3-1 win over YAB in the grand final, and they will take first place in week 2 of our Overwatch Contenders 2020 over in Europe. Finally, London Spitfire. Now, you may have noticed they didn't play any matches, but they did relocate to South Korea. They are planning on playing their upcoming Overwatch League matches from Korea, so you can expect them to see some competition in the coming weeks. Thank you once again for joining me for your favorite segment, the Cloud9 Roundup, and I'll see you next week.
So here we are, about to enjoy, I should say, one of the most questionable pieces of content that we've seen in League of Legends, and this is going to be GameCrib. So do you have any background as the director's cut? Would you like to say something about GameCribs?
Right, well, the interesting detail about this is I know something about the background of this particular series because I worked for On Gamers, and even though I think it says GameSpot before this, basically the website On Gamers, which was just a big site, think of ESPN Esports now, it was like that, where it was like me, Travis, Slash, a whole bunch of like well-known journalists, and that was basically made by the same media property or whatever that made GameCribs just the year before. So when they actually made this, the guy who made this was my cameraman for a whole bunch of my Reflections interviews. It was just one guy made the whole thing, and if people don't remember, this was the first real attempt at a reality show in all of esports, actually, and so they obviously picked the right team to do because they picked the best NA team at the time. It was in League of Legends. All these factors mean it's going to pop off. But the crucial thing to say about this is, since it was the first ever reality series, some episodes were boring. Like, it was really just people sat at PCs playing for 8 hours a day, and then the drama was like, wow, did you win your LCS game? But I do notice that Monte hasn't picked episode 1 of season 1. He's picked episode 2 of season 2.
Called
just
Problems.
The title being Problems alone tells me this is probably going to be straight fire. Like, I'm going to guess this is one where my favourite character from all the reality series, I always say this, Reginald, I'm going to guess he's probably going off in this one.
So Sully was the cameraman's name of this super nice guy. I talked to him a lot because he was just
and
like
came from
around.
the real world as well.
Yeah.
Came from like actual media world.
So he's a super nice guy, and like what was funny about what he told me in our conversations was that they actually had to cut footage from some of these because it was honestly so horrible that they thought that it would make people look even worse if they actually included everything. Yeah, so they toned down. This is the first reality show where they toned down the drama.
No, the joke with this is because it was made in collaboration with TSM, and this wasn't, by the way, TSM doing a breaking point, what Team Liquid did years later, and saying like, oh, let's just show, Watts and all the problems we had in the team, which is a cool angle to take, as we mentioned with breaking point. It's a very brave approach. That's the real joke, Monty, is if I didn't know that, I would say to you, I can't believe any org let them make this show. It looks so bad. Like this genuinely, no joke, tanked Reginald's reputation for years afterwards. Like, he already had a rep as, like, it can be a difficult guy. He was obviously a very, like hard leader, etc. But this actually tanked, like, people who hate TSM, basically, it was just all the ammo you needed to just think this guy's a piece of shit. So, that's the craziest detail, what you said there, is that this is what they thought was, like, the safe cut of it.
Yes.
God only knows what hit the actual, like, cutting room floor. Holy moly. I wish we could get that, by the way. I wish we could just, like, contact him and he had, like, a recycle bin saved on a disc image somewhere. We could get that footage. I bet it's amazing because you're going to see some outrageous stuff in it.
I just can't believe that. What was so unreal at the time when this was happening was I was like, how can anybody like this team?
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it?
How do you still have fans after you put this out there? Because it's so abusive. It's like straight up abusive. So Yeah,
It's because that's one of the reasons I also think they let this come out. Is I actually genuinely think to someone like Reginald, he thought that the stuff that we're going to see now is like, well, that's part of building a winning culture, or keeping them honest and stuff. Because to be fair, back then there was almost no discipline in any team, so his was the exact like polar opposite, wasn't it? But if you see it, like, you're going to see some stuff here that is like, even at the time it was unacceptable, but I bet it looks crazy compared to what people would expect now.
I think in any situation it was unacceptable. That's why, like, being older at the time. Oh boy.
Also, the fact one person made this whole thing.
I'm not sure if he edited it as well.
He did, because at the end he puts all the credits to himself. Like everything's
last week was pretty rough. We went 3-2 in LCS, and we lost to Dignitas.
This guy's already like a borderline millionaire, by the way, guys. This is his haircut. He's choosing his haircut.
To be fair, Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, also chooses that haircut. So
there was this communication breakdown in picks, and then people went on tilt, and then there was like basically
like,
very
wait,
low
pause that a second. Right, remember, this is when Kiwi Kid was a top laner, and he got the most deaths ever, you remember?
Yes.
Because I was thinking, how was Kiwi Kid fighting Reginald there? And that's why.
The other thing about this is that when they said that there was a communication error during picks, so in the client at the time in League of Legends, the top laner had to do all of the bans.
That's right, yes.
And then you had to, like, pick in that order, starting at top, because there wasn't a way... Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do that anymore, right? Like, anyway... So the top
someone could fuck it up for you, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So somebody could fuck it up. I mean, obviously you could still trade champions afterwards, but what ended up happening is that for a while TSM actually fake switched Reginald to top lane so that he would be first in the order to control the draft.
Anytime
even
TSM,
though he was still playing mid, but it got everybody out of
Yes.
order on the side here. It was just really annoying.
Anytime TSM thought they were doing something that involved guile, it was so pathetic. It was unreal. Like, everyone knew this was what this was immediately. Like, there's no way they were actually swapping roles with it. Because the idea that Reginald would willingly swap out of mid lane to top lane is absolutely bonkers, isn't it?
in that game. Like,
I do appreciate
know,
that
if you
one of the
watched
worst top laners ever just like solo killed Reginald.
game, it was just like nothing really happened. Like, aside from dragons and mid tower, we didn't really do anything. Like, there's this there's this air of unease or something. I don't know. It was this really bad game.
We'd always have the freaking same problem with TSM. It's like we would win a tournament and we'd do super well, and then the members would always stop listening to my calls, and we would lose. And it's really frustrating because, like, I'm the only team that actually contributes.
Wait there.
I'm the only team that
First of all, the guy
actually
can't even speak.
contributes.
Like, I'm not even hating on him. He just can't even speak. He obviously meant teammate or team member or something. Just missed out the key word there. And then secondly, like, that sounded so flawed as a premise. Like, wait,
So
you
he's
win a
literally
tournament.
throwing his entire everyone under the bus,
Good
saying
leader.
that
Yeah.
he's the only one who does anything.
Wait a minute. You see, you win a tournament, and then everyone just stops listening to the calls. Like, what? All right, I guess.
Like, all the picks and bans, and does like most of the work outside of the game. That's my job, right? Because I'm doing it because they don't want to do it, and then when I do it, they like try to step up to do it when it really matters. Like, it's so frustrating for me.
Okay, I'm learning the game at a higher level, and I can contribute to the team in more than by just playing.
By the way, you know at the time it was like a semi-meme that he's like passive aggressive or whatever. The problem is it's so true. Like, actually, the more I got to know him, his style is like he always talks as much as a conversation, but he's always just like blaming everyone else and stuff. He really does do that.
He actually stopped doing that later on. I really like him now. He's a
cool guy, but
yeah,
he definitely did
special-
have that like dynamic in the team.
He's actually a collegiate coach at Harrisburg now, so he's like getting a degree and coaching right now. So moving on with his existence.
I've been trying to work on that, but at this point, it feels like I should stop. It's not worth it. I should just go back to working my lane swaps and working on like maybe early game calls. Like, it's just not worth it for me to do more because I get too much flack, and Reggie would just get so offended, especially if I make any sort of mistake. And
this whole situation is so ridiculous. So Reggie is complaining that people don't do more, and he's saying it's not worth it to do more because anytime I try and contribute, then I just get shit on. So
If only Reginald could have watched this himself. It's like, I think we're breaking point again. If they just listen to actually the person on interview, you know exactly what the guy thinks. Yeah.
Exactly.
Also, by the way, this is another area about TSM. It's funny that this has basically haunted them for their entire career, that they've had tried to make the mid lane a shot call a million times. Because this was the dynamic I never understood about the team. Is, listen, as a TSM hater, I love that they kicked Special and that actually the team, like Cloud9 was battling and stuff. They logical move should always have been to try and transition shot calling to Special. Like, Special was the obvious guy. He had like a great understanding of the game.
But see, the thing is, if they do that, then they put too much power in that player's hands, and Reginald can't control the game anymore. And considering he owns the team and he's the only 100% unkickable player, then it creates a problem. Now, obviously, it also created a problem when he retired, right? But I think the situation is so wild because if it's just like if these two people talk to each other and found a different way to discuss the game, then you would just solve everyone's problem at once. We're 1 minute and 50 seconds into this, and I've already solved TSM's problem.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it to him, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. He's been doing it for a long time, and I shouldn't even try to take it away from him. So that's it.
People never really see how they actually are in a work environment. Like I don't want you guys.
Self-awareness levels 0 out of 100.
Is this satire?
No,
this is like this is like Steve Carell's character Michael Scott talking in The Office.
By the way, even like that last special bit, like that's the level of Stockholm syndrome these motherfuckers have, where he's just like, yeah, he starts by complaining. He goes like, I tried to do a lot of other things, and then Reginald would never like it, and then he ends by just going like, so that's why actually I shouldn't just do anything, and I should just do not like
just
what?
agrees, just agrees. I already can't believe this. What do you think the people who are filming and editing this were thinking?
The worst thing is they probably think all pro gamers are like this.
You guys to judge them in a work environment because you guys, like, everyone's their fans, you know? But, like, as a player and as their boss, it's really difficult to work with them. Because
I think you might have hit on something, Reginald. It's extremely hard to have a teammate who is also your boss. There might be a flaw somewhere in this structure.
it upsets me so much when, you know, like, just think about a normal work environment, right? Your boss tells you to do A, you do A. Your boss tells you to do B, you do B. With these guys, you tell them to do A, they don't do A. You tell them to do B, they don't do B. You tell them to do C, finally they might do C because you told them 3 times already.
I don't even know what that means. As soon as he started introducing the letters, I already felt so nervous that he was going to go off.
I love how he believes that somehow this is some sort of, like, being in a work environment is some sort of autocracy, because I think most functional work environments, you know, you have a job function, but you have a certain amount of autonomy there to make your own decisions to maximize, like, what he's thinking about.
He thinks it's like
he's
building
like
the pyramids with slaves. Like, do A, all right, boss. Like, what? That's not even how that works in any job.
So usually good bosses are like, I think you should work on something that you're going to be effective at and come up with some alternative ideas. Maybe it's a process of leadership and feedback instead of it being some sort of, like, grunt level manual labor job / slavery. The fact that he thinks that's a work environment says so much.
You know, and then it's not like, hey, go to the moon and find this gem for me. It's more like, hey, take out your trash on your exact day and clean your shit.
Can't lie,
And
that is one
fine,
area
they
I'm
lack
with him on.
skills
Yes,
in
but you
their
can't
life.
take out their trash. It's like,
Yeah,
come on, man, that's not asking much, is it? I agree with him on that one. An adult should be able to do
for
that.
sure, for sure.
They lack social norms and they don't know how to take care of themselves or take care of, like, shit they need to do on a normal basis. But, like,
these desks are a fucking joke. Look at that. Is he doing social distancing right now? Look at that desk.
So, funny story. We might get in. I'm not sure if we actually have one of the videos, but the odd one actually, he has this orange juice next to the subway. When they were living in Long Island, in that house in New York, well before this, in like 2011, Odd One got scurvy because he was only eating Subway and had no vitamin C and literally had to go to a doctor because he gave himself some sort of fucking, like, 18th century ship disease.
it, like, having that type of maturity also affects their in-game play too, because they don't focus that well on their job. Like, sure, winning an NA is good, but it's not something where it's not like where I want to be. I've been here for 3 years, you know. Like, I want to win, and then, like, they don't want to win.
What's so weird about the way he talks, right? Watch this. Is he doesn't just say like a whole sentence. Like one of the weird things, I've been interviewed like this a million times. What you normally do is you normally actually feel an impetus to talk a lot because the person just sat there silently, and you think, right, I'll give them as much as they can. They'll get the quotables and they'll cut it out. He talks as though when he says the first sentence, he does this like shifty thing with his eyes, like, do they believe me? And then he like, it's like he's trying to like convince them or something. Like, yeah, what they. Why
Am I right?
Yeah. Why is he like in his own head or something? What?
So the other, like, I think the other funny thing here is that he actually can't solve this problem because they're not going to listen to him because he's their peer and their teammate in addition to being their boss, right? But he also can't hire a coach or an authority figure because he would be their boss. He has actually created this crazy catch-22 of authority within the team.
I think Reggie is trying to be more of the captain or owner than anyone's friend. I think he really wants to win Worlds this time, like really badly, so there isn't really any...
Dude, this is the level of like...
2013, spoiler,
just beating
Faker
wife that they're
Faker
on.
owned everyone.
It's the notion that they even really believe he wanted to win Worlds, and that's what this was all about. There's no way. Why didn't Darnock just do that in Breaking Point? Just every time he was really badly behaved, just go, listen, I just really want to win Worlds, guys. What, you don't think we can?
There's no casualness, like it's just all work, we have to win. It's next 3 months is probably going to be really stringent. We're just going to work really hard, so I figure that's why he's really stressed, because he really wants to win Worlds.
Holy shit, dude. People are gonna hella bash on me because I bashed my teammates, huh? GG. It's okay though. Wait.
You can't say that.
Okay.
Then they'll like CSI where we live.
Oh yeah, please don't put that in there.
Spoiler, that guy doesn't.
Or
Sounds
get
like
anywhere
UK,
close.
We got a McDonald's open 24 hours.
Oh,
So
here's the sad thing. You know what I've realised would be the best content you could ever get? Is I would love if you could get a translated thing where you have actual real Korean pros watch something like this. And just have them like, this is what was going on in the West while you were making like SK Telecom or something like that.
I would love to do Faker
That would be
watches
amazing,
Game
wouldn't it?
Cribs.
It'd be so amazing.
He's like, wait, what? They thought they were going to do what in 2013?
It's scary.
These are called fruits. Nobody ever eats them except for me.
Are you ready?
Lock the.
Hey guys,
Are you
want
playing Draven? You're playing Draven?
We're catching axes.
Are you catching each other's axes?
I'll pass you mine
By
first.
the way, do you remember?
Oh, C9 bodied everybody this split
this
as well.
is when C9 just came in and went
Yeah.
like 25 and 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
the fuck. No, I don't know if you remember this, but the first studio they had for LCS, you know, nowadays, because everyone has like, you know, nutritionist and like all this support stuff. Now everyone's always flexing constantly, like, oh, we're eating healthy, you know, like we have a cut. The reason why Special says that, like I'm the only one who eats this fruit, is because I remember going to this studio,
Yep.
and they would just have like, no joke, like you would think it was like the rider for some rock star. They would have giant bowls of like M&Ms and
Yes,
stuff, and like
yes,
just
yes,
all
yes.
the worst food you could ever eat, like every type of soda.
It was also
just for free as well.
It was also such a fucking sad studio. There was literally a piece of paper between the two teams, so
Oh,
they
it was
were
a
back
joke,
to
yeah.
back, and there was like a lit piece of paper, so they could totally hear everything that either team was saying. And it was actually a converted like mechanics garage. I think this was the first LCS studio. It was sad.
Which skin are you using though?
You can add Ian. I'll pass you mine first.
Okay.
That's cool. You can trade access on skins.
No, we're trying to see if can Draven pick up an axe if he hasn't leveled up Q yet. Like if you take E at 1, can you
Yeah,
just
that'd be
go?
insane.
Can you just
That'd be
steal
so
the
cool.
axe?
Yeah, you can.
That'll never happen.
Yeah, because you can catch his axe.
Shut up.
I know, but if you don't have a Q, what's it like?
But it doesn't matter, because it's his axe.
Because it's like you're using an ability
tried
you don't
this?
have.
Well, I know it over.
Have you tried it?
No,
So you don't know?
100%.
So you don't know?
I saw the tip.
So if it doesn't work,
It said-
so
it
you're
By
gonna
the
do
way,
it.
do you remember the conspiracy theory at this time where because Jack, I mean, a lot of people actually who are watching this now, this shows why this content is going to be useful. A lot of people will not be aware that Jack Etienne of Cloud9 was actually in TSM and he was basically
Yes.
the business guy.
He was a salesman, an ad
Yeah.
salesman.
Well, when he made this team, because he basically just all of a sudden left Cloud9, left TSM and bought this new team, the Quantic lineup, to become Cloud9. The actual theory, because as you see here, they were still super close to two teams. They were always like scrimming and working. The conspiracy theory was that like Reginald like secretly had owned like a
Yes.
second. You remember
Yes.
that? It wasn't actually true as we've seen in
But
history. But
it's-
that was like that was a deep theory at the time.
It also is crazy that Jack bought this team for $10,000
Oh, that's one of the most insane
And
globes of all
Cloud9,
time,
Cloud9 is now worth like hundreds of millions of dollars. So,
And
and
at the
it's only
time-
in 7 years.
And
It's
by
crazy.
the way, because he bought the lineup before they'd qualified, maybe they actually won the qualifier then. But anyway, they were just coming
They
in
had won the
LCS.
qualifier, I'm pretty sure.
I remember at the time people were even like, "Ooh, 10K. Ooh, might spend a
Oh,
bit too much."
you
for
know
that."
what's funny is famously during that qualifier, I said Cloud9 is the best team in NA, and then they just dumped. Everybody's like, Monty, no, like they can't be. I'm like, I'm looking at this team. I'm like, this team is way better than any other team in NA, and nobody believed me. And then they just completely destroyed everyone.
What are you gonna give me if
Other
it's a point?
Craven's axes.
What are you gonna give me if it's a point?
Yeah, let's go to
Some
Jack and
pretzels.
Okay.
This is a fruit. Alex thinks he's the only one who eats them. Little did he know. I'm f***ing hungry. I need something to eat.
Get the over there.
You can change his skin, dude. That's cool. That's funny as fuck. Do it again. Oh, let him catch it. I don't kill him. What's
Imagine
the
how
fuck?
little
He's
time
go.
this guy had to work with. He had to use shit.
We're also
Why
trying
are
to
we
get a
wa-
zombie.
By the way,
We're
this should be
watching.
B-roll that shouldn't even have all.
Yeah,
It should just be,
exactly.
you know, someone
This is
talking about, well,
horrible.
coming in our first game, we were thinking like, what? We're just hearing some inane conversation about whether the Draven skin can catch the axes.
Same.
Just like, what are
A
you
few
talking
days
about?
ago.
What is this?
Turtle would be that guy that purposely gets bitten and infected, but he doesn't become a zombie yet. So he runs to the nearest shelter and then keeps claiming that he never got bitten or it's just a scratch, and then eventually becomes a zombie and infects everyone in the shelter. Like, the zombies are never really the villain. There's always like a human that's just an asshole, or just, I don't know, has no morals, like Turtle. So Turtle would just infect everybody, and we'd be f***ed. So if a zombie apocalypse ever happens, I see Turtle with a scratch on his arm, taking out the shotgun and putting him down.
You know this trope he's talking about here?
Yeah.
Right? The problem with that is, I have always thought that is actually, I don't think it's actually cheesy. I think it's a genius trope to put in those movies, because the whole thing is, everyone deep down does sort of know that, like, yes, when you're part of the bigger group that isn't with the zombies, you're like, right, we have to, look, I'm sorry, I know he's your brother, but we have to cut him off. And, like,
Yep.
but we all know that if we got the little bite and then no one had noticed, you would just like, maybe I can get away with it. Because it's you!
Yeah.
You can't yourself get isolated and just wrecked, can you? Like, we all know deep down we would do that. That's why it's actually a genius trope, isn't it?
For the good of humanity.
Let's take a look at today's starting lineups. Starting with Team Solo Mid, we'll be spawning in the blue side. It's
Yeah, it's
Dyrus in the
looking
top lane, Odd One in the jungle, Reginald in mid, Wild Turtle at AD carry, and Xpecial on support.
It was like 7
Master
years
Yi
ago,
jungle.
wasn't it?
Velocity Gaming.
Jesus.
Vile Rose. Oh my god. Yeah, Maple Street was on this team. He was the only one actually out of this entire lineup that ever really did anything.
Yeah, he was all right.
He was okay.
He was all right.
He's also Odd One's brother, if you guys don't know.
Before he starts
Whoa,
going.
that's some damage right there. The flash goes in. Wild Turtle, one more shot, and he gets first blood to come out on
Right,
Evan
wait a
Niscus.
minute. Why in God's name? Like, look at the position of everyone on the map right now. Why the hell would the Lysandra be on its own in the jungle at that point? Less than 2 minutes into the game, getting caught by the mid lane
Well, they lane
and
swapped.
the bot lane.
Also,
Why
it's
was
a
he just
support.
roaming through the jungle?
Also, it's
Oh,
a support
that's
Lysandra.
terrible.
Can we talk about that? That
Had
was
a
never a
scratch in
thing.
his head, giving it a shake.
That's what happens when they pink ward the middle river to take out your vision. You don't want to go face checking, and TSM are going to be able to steal away the red without their jungler. Odd One picks up TSM red, while Wild Turtle picks up Velocity red.
Reggie just got repelled on by a spider.
I forgot how insane
And
we are
Elise
about
is in the studio and apparently has had a pause in the game.
bad.
So we are getting Elise
We'll save
cleaned
you,
up
Reggie.
here.
Don't worry.
That
That's the piece of paper that was just separating
or
the teams.
Christina V came to dance with him. I'm not sure. It's one of the. Oh, I think he found it. Dyrus fighting. It goes against the spider. He gets help from QC. It looks like he's going to be all right, though. We may just get the shoot for this one.
Oh, and they're coming in
They're
with the
actually
folded up
casting a
paper.
spider.
Oh,
It's
ignite!
gone.
Oh, the surprise ignite takes him out.
Odd One's fine.
All right, Odd One's
Everybody's
okay.
good.
We still had cell division anyways. We're
Yeah,
good.
it was good with that one.
All right.
Ooh.
Best pause in
Now,
the
go for the explosive inhibitor. Good call right there. They're going to end this up 1-2. Looks like we have Vile Rose coming in from the back, though. Here goes Velocity's last-ditch effort.
It's a good taunt. Chris coming out with home guards. He's forced to pool right away, which means he is targetable.
It's
Not
actually
even a
the bad
Zonia's
thing
on
is
him
that
right now.
just came back
Odd
this
one.
year. Have you seen it? Now
Yeah.
play top lane
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
It's like only just come back.
I think they said the first time we saw Zach in LCS this year that it was the first time since it had been played in LCS since 2014 or something. Look at this, by the way. 25 minutes and TSM
Getting
has
hit
30
up. It
kills.
looks like
This is
Evidence
such a
gets put themselves in the fight. Where's the ulti? Throws it down into Wild Turtle.
This
This
team
could be
was
exactly what they
terrible,
need, but a
Yeah, but
great
that's also
flash
the
by
joke,
Wild.
isn't it?
Gets
Something
himself
we
to
can actually
safety.
mention
The
about
chase on...
meta is if people don't know, part of the reason why you could have such an outrageous score, because remember, this is in the era when, like, obviously you get gold for killing the dragon. Obviously, Baron was mad OP. You basically won the game if you got that. But that's the point. TSM knew how to, like, fight people and lane, and that was it. Like, if they'd actually had any understanding of how to work the map, this game would be over, like...
An NK8, but they focused on the meditate. It's only going to take a little bit longer
20-plus kills
to take him down.
They have an 18k
And there was
gold
enough
lead.
focus on the
one of
team
the
to
worst
keep
teams
going to
ever,
the
where
Nexus
we already
turrets.
know one of the
They're going to
players
just
still, like,
easily
not even
take
in
this one down. It
competitive
looks like it'll be the win for TSM right here. I kind of feel bad for Velocity with that early start, but well-deserved by TSM.
No, honestly, no, I couldn't land Qs anymore after the f***ing spider. I was just like...
So, yeah, they definitely know there's a few things that could have gone better.
So even with the W, people say you don't learn as much from winning all the time. You learn more from losing, but you can see there's learning points for Reginald.
And then we started playing, right? And then there was like a spider on Reggie, and he started freaking out. It was pretty funny. He was like this big ass spider. He's like gesturing like this big, and it was like a little tiny one. And then we're just like laughing at it. It's pretty funny. But then
This is like the story the little kid tells his
Yeah,
dad.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's
we were
horrible.
waiting at school today.
There was a
It's
spider.
just like spider. It's like a big one, but then Billy got it. So small one. And you're just not even listening. Like, oh, well done. Do your homework.
the spider completely threw us off. We were just like freaking out.
Can't
while he
believe these
was.
are happening.
And we got destroyed in the fight right after that because then we were just so distracted. Like they literally all came up behind us and we had no idea. So that spider like cost us 2 or 3 deaths. It was awful.
This is so troll, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty troll.
Yo, where's my liquor?
Reasonable thing to be
Where's
honest.
my liquor?
It's pretty troll.
Yeah, I want to be rich so I can have a personal like this. Trap me everywhere.
By the way, this is also
You
the
are
worst
that
thing about-
rich.
The worst thing about this is, in the modern day reality shows, people have now gotten used to there being a camera filming and stuff, and they just do go about their ordinary life. It's not too contrived. Everything about this is mental and contrived. Like, anytime they talk to the camera, they're obviously just being told, like, say something about this. And then every time Reginald's on camera, he's just playing it up constantly. Attention off.
Okay, there we go. Hello, hamster. Hello. Yo, do your vlogs, bros.
We're heading to the
Guys, do your vlog.
Hey, cameraman, wave. You're being filmed.
This is so troll, dude.
Is that like James Brown playing or something?
What, can we discuss this font?
It's like the Terminator 2 font, isn't it? It looks exactly like it.
Yeah, we get JC practice. In which none of the 3 are banned, which is very
Dude, do they have the value menu at the McDonald's downstairs? Like 20 chicken nuggets.
Well, let's get chicken nuggets, go. I'm down for chicken nuggets, dude.
Fuck yeah, I'll bring the hobos to get nuggets.
Let's do this shit. Let's do this.
And
Fuck, how do I do? Stop calling them hobos, dude.
What else
Dude,
can I
you
call
call them the walkers.
Get a pillow.
Whoa.
That was rather weird, honestly. That really hurt my arm. I can't play tomorrow. Fuck you. I can't play tomorrow. It's all your fault.
like twice as big.
You're fired. You broke my arm. You're fired.
The fact that he's joking about firing them is so deeply fucked up.
Take me to the hospital. Call 911.
Wait,
Call 911.
That'd be cute. I can buy
You're such a scumbag, Ottawa. You're beating on the weak.
Ow.
You got nuggets.
I'm not going, dude. I'm not.
Fucking salute.
This isn't like me, like, go. Baby wife.
Don't tell anyone. That I'm the legendary Spider-Man.
That's pretty trolly.
Today's day 2 of LCS, and we're gonna play CLG. Yay!
So, okay, we're gonna first pick Shen, right?
What's bad at, by the way, so people who don't know, because I know he's not as famous now, so he's not on camera as much. While Turtle, as an actual personality, has developed like 10 times compared to this.
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah.
used to be a really weird guy like that, where everyone just sort of left him on
He's
the
actually like super. He's
super
always
outgoing, yeah.
super outgoing, super nice. Yeah.
He's developed a lot.
Shen's actually going top, but it's actually not. It's going to be support. And support's gonna have a Thorin shield with 75 health points, right? And he's gonna play freaking Draven, and no one's gonna Ezreal, no one's gonna out-trade that because whoever he taunts with 900 HP, they'll just die. And then you're gonna pick a damage champion. Autumn's gonna play damage champion, and he's gonna split push with support, and we're gonna have 3 solos pushing, and no one can defend against 3 solos, and the support will be split pushing.
This is actually like 8-year-olds talking to each other. That's what it sounds like in these scenarios.
Are we really doing that?
No.
The way he asked that question, Dyrus, the one sad thing also you do learn when you watch this is in some fucked up way they all deserve Reginald Dan to be in this horrible situation. Like, you know, for some reason it's there. By the way, that Martin went off just 'cause
yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
In some weird way, it's like, because you know there's that saying, like, this might sound a bit weird, but it's true. If someone keeps getting into abusive relationships, even if they're the one being abused over and over again, eventually they do have to ask themselves, what is it about me that attracts that sort of person? Or why do I always end up with, why do I pick someone like that? Because what you learn in this team is, it's obvious that Reginald's being an asshole because he's just the most vocal. But the others, in some fucked up way, like, they are like, they do sort of need someone to tell them what to do. And just
look at his face right here. He was actually concerned that it was real. Because the thing is like, he's actually afraid to say, like, no, we shouldn't do that, or are you joking? His first reaction is to, like, shy away and say, like, are we actually doing that? Because he knows he has to do it if Reginald's being serious, even though he clearly thinks it's a bad idea, and he can't even tell the difference between Reginald joking and telling him what to do. That's terrifying.
But what we are actually gonna do is we're gonna ban. Especially what we're gonna ban again, I forgot.
I'm about to play CLG. Hopefully we win. They're phenomenal. CLG's a phenomenal team.
Didn't get the stun off, didn't get his wild cards off,
Like phenomenal. A phenomenon.
Dak, the crowd control. Will he be able to finish the kill? The last attack is going to go to Link. They start giving him the feed. Nien to go down from Requiem here.
And Reginald recognizes that.
With that, yeah, there's the ping. With that view of now the odd one middle, it's going to have to happen. Dyrus gets hit up. He's going to say, you can see the look on his face. He's like, guys, this is going to be bad. Who's they going to give the kill to? Big Fat takes that one out for this time.
So I don't
stop coming down. Oh, he just takes him out. The shard clears his HP out, and it's going to be the Requiem coming down as he lives through this one. Yes, he does. Then they get the dragon. No, he doesn't get it.
I just don't know if
that was a 3-for-1, and now they're making runs for each other's faces.
Wild Turtle, oh, it's just a gold card explodes out. Wild Turtle.
Link is just a man right now, shutting down this TSM push. Can he get 3 by himself?
The X-Men may have a new member after this one.
And oh no, Double Lift is in the base trying to end. There's only a Cho'Gath coming back. Could CLG win it here?
There's Odd One coming up. He gets the Rupture. It's going to be netted out. The 50 caliber going for the turret. There's 1-2 shots. He's going to keep reloading. He's got the second clip in. Double Lift going down on it with Baron. Wild Turtle throws his hands in the air. They take the headphones off. It looks like he's going to be able to get it. Link's just on the backside coming in.
He is casting this. It was like the faker fucking Ryu Z 1v1 outplay. Like,
I mean,
oh my god!
LCS casting was pretty tragic at the time.
Fuck, dude. Why is it getting special? Like, if even the owner doesn't have his own jersey clean, you know, it's like the rookie mistake. You always get like new players where they wear the old jersey or whatever. He's wearing Special's jacket. He is the owner of the fucking team.
Yeah, that's like.
It's his team.
We were ahead, and then some communication issues resulted in Reggie diving their base.
Oh my god, they must have lost this game. Look at the way they're all behaving.
Yeah, they did. They did lose. We just saw them lose.
His hands
right
in the air.
Oh,
they
that's
take
right,
the
yes.
headphones off. It looks like he's going to be able to get it.
Happens.
By the way, look at this clip.
We were ahead, and then
Why is Reginald flashing inside their base right now?
What I always loved about Reginald is this is why he shouldn't have been the shot caller, by the way.
He flashed for this.
Because he obviously could be a good player, and he was just a very aggressive player. But as a shot caller, that's why he was terrible.
Look at this. Double Lift has flash and heal. So he's not going to catch Double Lift. There is no chance.
And he's Karthus, like one of the most
mobile
mobile champions of the whole game.
So Double Lift might still have his net on Caitlyn as well to get out of the radius of the AoE, and has flash and has heal. There is no way this Karthus flashing forward is going to do shit.
some communication issues.
Oh, there's the net right there. And there's the flash.
Resulted in Reggie diving their base. I don't know, Reggie didn't say a word when he dove in, because the reason why we can't follow, or we didn't follow him, because we didn't see shit. Like, Nocturnal was on us, and everyone on the team moved back.
Wait a minute, pause it a second. So, wait a second. Just so we're clear.
Nocturnal was up.
Nocturnal is on. So you
What's
can't
up?
even see anything that's going on. And then secondly, Why would you expect the Carthus to flash forwards under the tower on his own versus the AD carry?
Versus an AD carry with both summoners up.
And it's the longest range one as well.
You can't fight in that unless someone's like vocally saying where they are and who's where and such. So there's no way we could fall unless someone said something. We started losing every fight after that because our lead was, or basically the game was slowly falling behind. And we didn't team fight right. Malphite killed Turtle like every time or something. So it was pretty bad. And we're pretty sad that we should have won that.
So listen to how rational Odd One explains this. Just like no emotion, just like trying to process the game, figuring out what went wrong, not assigning any blame, just describing what happened.
Well, that's the most outrageous thing about this TSM squad. Like, I'll give them props that they did win a lot of splits and, they obviously did have a lot of success. But the stupidest thing was, I never understood that whole logic that Reginald had, that, like, I'm the only one who can shot call in this team. It's like, if we break down the team that they had, right, Dyrus was, like, at the time, it just didn't exist as a term, but he was basically like a weak side player.
Yes.
One of the best at doing it. Odd One and Special seemed really smart at their roles.
Yes.
And then Keox famously did the pick bands back is when they had Wild Turtle. But you know what I mean? Like, he actually could have delegated a lot of the aspects of the team. They probably would have been better. Oh, this is some abuse going on.
Where'd you get the sandwich?
Dude, I hate losing a CLG so much, dude.
Where'd you get one? Huh?
Where's inside? Where'd you get one?
Employee abuse here. This is when he just starts going in on Wild Turtle, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my god, I'm gonna grab one now.
Every single time we lose a CLG, it's like, I'm trying to think right now. Think of something creative, special to say. You're good at that. What? Think of something creative to say.
Like,
huh?
I don't know why you would say that's the only reason why.
No,
Yes,
no.
yes,
What
it
at
was,
that
it
point?
was the game losing play. Yeah, that was the game losing play. But like to say that Turtle was the only reason why we lost.
No, I'm not saying that. That's the only reason why we lost at the end.
Well, you said.
Yeah, because he caught Ezra, so we lost right there. That's why we lost right there.
No, I'm saying that you were saying
Pause
that
it a second.
Turtle.
Right,
Like,
look at the face of Wild Turtle. By the way, Wild Turtle, the guy sat next to him, who Reginald is
Just
speaking
the
about in the first
1,000-yard
person,
stare.
to a guy in front, just going like, yeah, well, I'm not saying he's the only reason, but he is the reason we lost the game. Like, the guy sat right there. And as I've just alluded, we'll do the reverse of that. At the time, obviously, a socially very awkward person. Like, this wouldn't be the theatre to do this.
He's not even participating in this conversation.
Dude, he's got that look where, like, you're in the dentist chair. And it's like, right, this is going to hurt a little bit, but I've just got to keep going. Like, all right, zone out. It's like, I'm not here now.
the reason why we were losing.
Every single fight, dude.
Like, yeah, I said that, but like, there was also other stuff in that game that was really bad.
It didn't even matter, dude. The fights were the only ones that mattered. Like, sure, they got Dragon, but it didn't matter because we could just group up and push.
Reminder that this is the game we've just watched where Reginald flashed forwards as Carthus, but he's now putting it forwards, and the main reason they lost the game was Wild Turtle.
By the way, props to the editors. Props to the editors for setting this up.
That's
They knew the game
awesome.
well
Yeah,
enough
exactly.
to like show that situation, then have Odd One describe it, and then cut immediately into this. Also, this man knows that he is being filmed, and this is the behavior he is. Imagine what it's like when he isn't being
Well,
filmed.
the joke is, you would think what you'd do is make yourself look awesome in the document, and then privately take the guy. Like when the cameraman
Yeah.
goes home, be like, "Listen, I'll never do that again." Like,
Yeah,
it's on the
yeah,
he doesn't even have the wherewithal to do that.
They got our inhibitor because 5 of us died bot.
Yeah.
Once you give TF an inhibitor, it opens up so much of the map.
Yeah.
Like, sure, we could have gotten a couple more CS. Sure, we could have, like, not died. Sure, we could have got Dragon. But all that shit doesn't matter when we get all that anyways, and he played that way in teamfights. We would have lost the teamfight.
I feel so bad for Special. He had the temerity, Thorin, to say that perhaps there were other reasons why they lost this game, and that they could look at the one play with Wild Turtle, which we didn't see, but that maybe there were other mistakes as well, and he was going to have a reasonable conversation, and now he's just getting browbeaten into submission.
You can tell this is how every conversation in TSM went. Like, the person at first tries to make a point.
Exactly. And remember
then
how
when they give up, Reginald's like, "I must be right." No,
Well,
they really
remember how
did.
this started. He complains that no one is giving feedback. X-Special says, "I can't give feedback because it turns into a fight." And then we literally see this playing out.
I got this.
Like, X-Special's trying to have a conversation about the game here in a reasonable fashion.
Are you arguing just to argue with me?
No. It feels like you're just trying to
put it all on Turtle.
No, I'm not putting it all on Turtle.
No, you are putting it all on Turtle.
Okay, yeah, he really fucked up.
No, yeah, you are. Yeah,
okay, he really fucked up.
Okay, yeah, I know that.
So,
Just say
why are you arguing with me about it? It's so true, though.
That he was the only reason why we lost?
So why did we lose the game?
Wait a minute. Remember, at the beginning of this, he said that he wasn't arguing. That Turtle's the only reason they lost the game. And then he just said there that he is. He's the only reason they lost the game. And then when Special says, like, we isn't, though, he goes, well, then why did we lose the game? It's like, what? You're arguing against yourself.
This Reginald versus Reginald
the biggest reason is, Turtle got caught back.
No, we lost the game because he got caught. How can you argue otherwise, dude? Like, how can you argue otherwise? Why are you arguing just argue with me?
No.
If we were 7,000 gold ahead and we played like that, we'd have lost the game.
I don't think so. We're 7,000 gold ahead.
If Ezreal gets caught like that, we would lose the game.
In the middle of the team fight,
they beat us with 5 people alive.
They had like TF ult behind us and shit, and nobody went on him. Like, it was so sloppy. It wasn't just Ezreal like instantly died. Yeah, it was horrible. They instantly died. But to say Turtle was the only reason why we lost, I don't like.
I didn't watch the replay, but
I didn't watch the replay.
If he didn't die, we would have won. And he's playing Ezreal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Turtle had all the chances to carry. He did. But to say he was the only reason why we lost, to me...
I can hear the fucking hamster on the wheel in Reginald's brain just going around now.
It's just... No.
Look at his expression.
Oh, obviously, because there's so many other factors that could have made the game better.
Then why are you arguing with me? Like...
The biggest factor was Turtle.
Okay.
And you're arguing with me.
Alright, my bad.
No... For no reason, you're arguing with me and arguing with me. It's annoying. And you've always been doing this, and it's really getting annoying.
Okay.
And lately you've been doing it, it's so annoying. Because you're only arguing with me to argue with me.
Not really.
Even when you can't even prove a point. And saying that our game would get harder.
I already proved my point. And
what was your point?
My point it wasn't just Turtle's fault.
No shit, but you're arguing with me.
He's disagreed with
He's
himself
like,
about 3 times.
he's just like, it seems insane because he can't win. He says, Reginald says it was all Wild Turtle's fault. Then it wasn't. Then it was again. And so there's no talking with him. Like, Especial just giving up on this conversation.
Anyone can, whatever. Oh, so
annoying. When we argue, it really should never get to a point where it's like, I'm right because I'm better than you. And when it gets to that point, I don't want to argue anymore. Like,
reasonable.
Even before the point, I don't want to argue. But when it gets to that point, it's like this argument should stop, and it's dumb at that point.
See what I mean? It's like nearly all.
Oh, Sully did edit it.
There's a couple of other people did some things, but he did like.
That's amazing. All right, time for the next episode. All right, here we go. Another episode. Jacob. These are things that people have sent to me, by the way.
Today, we met with a bunch of people, Qualcomm, GameSpot. They're all really cool.
Oh, this
and
is,
then
by
there
the
was
way,
this
this is from the season before.
lady who would probably own me in DDR, knows hella more about computers than me.
That's what's gonna happen.
Like, in every way, just owns me at everything. Even knew a lot about League, despite
There's a date on this.
you'd figure she wouldn't, but she did.
It was kind of an honor to meet these people, and it showed that how much these guys sort of at least take notice of one of the lower branches of their company, and it was humbling, and definitely humbling, and means I just gotta work harder, gotta make these guys happy.
In the whole history of TSM, we've never benched a player. We decided to bench Keox for 1 week.
There he is. There's Jack.
Because of what he did at Dallas and of how his attitude. Mainly because of his attitude.
The decision was made due to Keox not really apologizing to the team for his actions. He was, yes, making excuses for what he did.
Should I be knocking on your door every day to wake you up to check on you?
No. For the tournament, my sleep schedule is really fucked up a week before going to the tournament. And then for being late, it was more that I'd rather get more sleep. rather than wanting to be late?
It's gonna be a temporary thing. We want. Kex's attitude at Dallas was frankly unacceptable. It wouldn't have been such a big problem had he just afterwards just been like, I'm sorry guys, it was my fault, won't do it again. That would have still been bad regardless, but it would have been better than what happened. He kind of tried to put off the blame. It was very unlike him.
You don't go to an event and you don't get drunk, you don't leave your team, you don't show up to practice late constantly and expect to not get punished.
That's how
Everything's reasonable so far.
job works. When you're late consistently, you get fired.
Threatening me doesn't help.
Well, too bad.
Fire me now.
When he did that, and
Holy shit. He actually said, go on then, fire me now. That's a reasonable attitude to have. You probably should just fire him and right, get out there. So,
Yeah, basically.
he didn't exactly believe it was his fault, then there's a problem.
At Dallas, my sleep schedule is f***ed. And I agree I should have fixed it. But shit like that is like, yes, it's going to affect my mentality, it's going to affect my overall play, it's going to affect everything, and not fixing sleep schedule is a part of everything.
We have to set a precedent because if someone gets away with doing something that bad, it's not good for anything. It's just toxic.
At season 1, people thought you're f***ing an asshole, and I always defended you.
Well, obviously, going into the future, I won't make the same mistake, and hopefully everyone on the team, because that I'm benched, takes everything a little bit more seriously, and going into the future, that this will be a good example, I suppose.
Because if you remember what happens when he gets benched, Monty,
Yep.
Wild Turtle gets a pentakill.
And then
That's the end of Chaos.
Chaos came and stayed at my apartment for a bit in Seoul, and then he was coaching some Chinese teams for a while.
It's day 1 of week 6 of LCS. We're about to head out, and we play against Complexity and Mon, we play against CLG tomorrow. So we prepared pretty hard, and it's the first time we're going to be playing with Wild Turtle, who's one of our subs. And it's going to be interesting. Hopefully he does really well. Hopefully we win. That's time to go here, and that's it.
It's an amazing experience, actually. I never expected TSM to ever use me to play in LCS. Like, they'll never.
We know that in the future they won't ever blame him for any of the problems in the team. See, contrast this: he's smiling, he's enjoying it. Reginald's in the same spot, I know, every time in the car.
Then,
you know?
yeah, you don't need a sub, but I'm just there because it's cool.
If you don't die, assists are worth 1 kill too on KDA.
Yeah. Yes. Then what's Cobb's KDA?
It's like 15.
Really? 15.
So if you get like 5 kills a game, you have higher KDA than him and you'll be a sub. It'll be the only sub with the highest KDA.
Yeah, you can't die though. It like completely ruins it. This is hella funny, dude. Guys, like the shuttle's downstairs.
Are they trying to convince Wild Turtle to play for KDA in their games? That seems like a terrible idea.
You guys ready? And I was like, oh yeah, we already ate at 10 together, and then we're already here pretty much, right? He's like, who's this and what did you do to
Yeah.
Let's come back. Oh well. Okay. I just want to say I have a power game. I love you, Turtle.
The complexity lineup was really bad.
Yes.
This is the one that and Tonso before he came to
Yes.
you guys.
Yeah. A lot of more to say.
He was
Had
an ADC,
a few splits in him. He was actually one of the better junglers, I think.
Yeah, of course, it was 2 minutes.
It was extremely close throughout the game, and it was the newcomer Wild Turtle with the play of the day to close the game out for Team Solo Mid.
Loudamores takes a bit of damage, but they've got positioning now. They could go for this one. Darius is in front.
Darius taken very low. Loudamores still yet to use because the sad mommy. There it is. He goes out crescendo. Hits the entire Complexity team though. Can they turn it around? Wild Turtle at the back, just hitting one after the other. There's a double kill for him. Loudamores goes in. That's going to feed him a triple kill. MIA strand. That's going to be a quadra kill. Can he get the pentakill? Front you 1-on-1. It's going to be the pentakill.
Why their whole team, by the way, was only like focusing the fucking top and jungle of TSM.
Beautiful play, Wild Turtle.
That was ridiculous.
Chaos, do you have
like their ADC was still hitting Darius at the end.
Your replacement is doing a fantastic job, and that is the game for Team Solo Mid.
This guy is bullying me. Like, I'm so shit. Shit on. I'm just bullying you.
Oh my god, you have Ignite still.
Oh, I suck.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I canceled my attack. I hit the creep.
I won again.
I hit the creep. I hit a f***ing creep.
I won again. I won again.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
You'll never beat me, dude. You'll never beat me.
You awesome, GG, get f***ed.
I don't even play that.
I don't even like Keylines. Oh, what? After being with Keylines, talking hella shit. It looks like when we play champion at my territory, yeah. Oh.
The sad thing is, like, I'm
In the
thinking
last-
when I'm watching that now, like, why would you even include that footage? But to be fair, at the time, since it was still so new as like a thing like League of Legends Esports, people were excited for any old crap that you saw behind the scenes. They probably think that was cool.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
The banter or some bullshit, you know.
Yeah, it is terrible though. So Nien was an AD on this team, Team Marn. Clayky D is now a director, I think, still at Riot. He was an observer after he stopped playing professionally.
Actually, I've got one piece of info for people. The guy who was the top laner here, Mega Zero, was a guy where he was like a top player in that game Myth he played, Bloodline Champions, that Semler actually comes from. And so he's another person where like he was like a multi-game player or something.
Game of the night.
Clayky D was a FGC player as well.
Okay.
So
Marn is looking to prove that their win over TSM during Super Week was not a fluke. Marn started the game out with first blood when Mega Zero's Elise took down Darius' Malphite.
The idea you'd even have this fight at the beginning of the game in the mid lane.
So are they going to follow this one?
Why would you ever do
Should
that?
be enough when they
That's so
finish off.
stupid.
Yes, they
Imagine
will.
the top player
Vegas
dying like that.
Zero comes in, first blood goes down, and it's Marn that
That's like
picking
NA
off him
rap
away.
to
And
the absolute nth degree. isn't it?
also,
1 minute in the game.
Reginald's famous Twisted Fate
it's going
in
to
this
be
game.
Dyrus with the unstoppable force coming in. The Intonso goes down, the repel comes out from Mega Zero. He's going to get dropped as well. Backfired desperately there. Marn absolutely ripped apart by Team Solo Mid. Now, simply viewers, there's the ultimate coming out from Dyrus. You can't smell what the rock is cooking. It is Dyrus.
Why has he said that? Why is he just using other catchphrases from wrestling in this? Like, yeah, you know what, D-Man, that is a
But
brilliant catchphrase when The Rock uses it in
So
wrestling.
it's because of its Malphite. That's why he's doing
Oh,
it.
I see, right.
So, but
I see what
even
he's trying to do there.
But he says you can't smell what the rock is cooking. You should say you can smell what the rock is cooking. So he fucked it up, but I understand
Picking
why.
up yet more kills, 6-1-8 for Dyrus in that top lane, showing Hotshot GG how to play Malphite in the top against the Spider. And well, would you believe it, TSM go 2-0 today with a substitute. It's 22-6 in kills.
Congratulations to TSM finishing that one off with no casualties.
Yeah.
Great showing by their sub, by the way, Wild Turtle.
The middle.
Cool. Oh my god, dude. Okay, we gotta go eat somewhere. Good. Nice. And we got a plan.
When we get back and drop off our
Yeah,
stuff.
let's go drop off our stuff and just like take a cab somewhere and eat good food.
We're at 3. What time is our flight? 11?
What did I say? Did I say 11?
Yeah. Okay, we're at 3 tomorrow. We'll just go to a really nice restaurant and make up for the day.
There's one right there, dude.
But if we lose tomorrow, we're having turtle stew.
This guy's just so
Every
inappropriate.
joke is like, but I will fight you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's so difficult to converse with him because you actually don't know what's real and what's not. This is like some mega gaslighting.
Turtle stew.
Today was day 1, and now, after having a little fun and eating dinner, we're gonna go back to the room and strategize. And we just won this off of the tickets in the arcade.
Yay, teamwork.
Reginald looks so much younger considering it's only a few months before. This hat's working for him.
Hat doing wonders.
Essentially, if you had to choose, who would you choose?
I mean, people keep asking me, like, who do I think is better, Chaos or Wild Turtle? Like, such a loaded question. How do I answer them? And quite frankly, I don't know. They play different playstyles. Chaos, like, if I were to give them 2 options, say, go for harass, go for CS, I know exactly which one would take. And Wild Turtle go for the harass, Chaos go for CS. That's just how they differ. And I mean, overall, you get Chaos who will pretty much always go even in lane, versus Wild Turtle who might sometimes win hard, sometimes lose.
it's just different.
Honestly, I think I choose Turtle. I think his champion pull is more fitting for the team. But at the same time, I know like KX can probably play those champions if he really, really tried.
Like Special said something. You have to say something too.
Si, senor?
No, seriously, dude. You can't, like, I know whatever you think in your head, you can't do that.
So, I don't know.
As much as it's easy to bang on Reginald, this is a
Yes,
ridiculous group.
he's just like looking at his phone, just like.
Do I have to say something about who I play with my professional career?
I do understand Reginald's frustration for sure. I wouldn't.
It's like, right,
I wouldn't
Oddworld.
act on it in that way.
Oddworld,
But
valued member of our team. What is your contribution towards this? Si, senor. Like,
It's rough to move on. It's rough to leave things how they are. Because I don't know what happened. I don't know why KX acted like that. Like, usually he'd be the guy that really wants to try hard, want to win. So I don't know what happened at Dallas or what was been happening. So not sure what's up. Just hope everything gets fixed and we can just play the game and end the season strong.
If you had to choose Turtle or KX.
I mean, the other problem is like Odd One has actually talked a lot to the camera. He just doesn't like talking to Reginald. That's clear. Like he doesn't actually just hates giving feedback to Reginald because he shuts it down every time.
Oh,
so.
if you notice, like one of the biggest problems this team has. I mean, this is years before Breaking Point, but that's another flaw of this entire era. The concept of like team meetings and coaching was always just have everyone in a group and just be going like, I don't like the way you threw the game last, like the most unproductive possible conversation you could have with a bunch of passive aggressive nerds. You're never gonna get anything out of that.
I don't know. It depends on if KX can change.
Well, you don't know that, and then.
Oh, I don't know.
So you have to make a judgment call.
I don't know. I guess Turtle.
Just think about the situation. So you could see there's a mic here that was attached. So he knew he was getting recorded. And the cameraman is just slowly walking towards him, putting the camera in his face. And this is his reaction to that situation.
Is this I feel that we're stagnated or something? I don't know.
Alright, we'll just focus on winning tomorrow. We'll just talk all about this tomorrow. And we'll talk with Jack and talk for his advice.
Now we're gonna go to Riot Studios early, and we're all gonna sit in a room together and just discuss strategy about CLG. And we're gonna plan out our level 1, our picks, our bans, our early objectives, and we're gonna plan out the whole entire game. And come in solid and win.
Well, I don't blame him. Like that's a reasonable laying out of what you're gonna do in a meeting, and nobody even acknowledges that you said it. That is incredibly frustrating.
We are about to get underway. You can see the screen behind us showing the game is underway, and Counter Logic Gaming as the blue team and Team Solo Mid as the red are getting things underway. The second time they've met here, and we are into week 6, so they have another 2 meetings to come. And I believe next week is another clash of titans between these two, but let's see how this one works out, of course.
Do this tower dive. Reggie level 3 going for it.
They're going for it, but they're going for it down the bottom as well. Afromu is going to go down. First blood comes out. It's Wild Turtle that picked it up, and now the top lane, they're diving up towards Hotshot G. Reginald's going to pick that up, and the tower aggro didn't even get near him. Beautifully played by Team Solar Mid, top and bottom.
Zed top tower dive. That's how different the game was back then.
Double pin, that's going to be another pickup. Hotshot will pick up a kill with that Requiem. The Baron does go down. It was Chowster that got it, but Reginald comes in. Wild Turtle gets a double kill, and they're going to turn and take the game.
Split away for people who aren't aware, where CLG, instead of actually just practicing and playing in the first ever LCS split, we were like playing like fucking Street Fighter 3 or whatever instead of actually scrimming.
I wasn't on the team yet.
Something outrageous like that.
Don't you miss the Voltron cameras that they used to do here? This is such a terrible idea.
Oh, the funniest part of that, I thought Chaucer was going to repeat his mistake of last week where he just left the Baron pit and then the other team stole it, but he flashed back in over to steal the Baron. CLG at least gets the Baron kill, but they've been aced, and
there is the surrender. So that is, ladies and gentlemen, a 23-minute, 40-second win for Team Solo Mid over Counter Logic Gaming.
I feel like with our team,
we limit ourselves and each other from doing what we really want.
Why?
And since Chaos wasn't there and we
so
had Wild
silly.
Turtle at the last minute, we're like, all right, dude, do whatever you can do best, and we'll play what's good with it. Because we haven't played with them that much. That way it allowed us, we did like Shen TF, and we did like a Korean style push comp, which didn't go as well as we planned, but it turned out kind of okay. We did something that we usually never do, because we're always stuck doing the same thing because we always limit ourselves. Oh, I'm going to play this champ. Okay, then I'm going to play this champ. There's no main real voice. Like, it's not all Reginald doing our picks and bans, or it's not all Chaos doing our picks and bans. It's just, oh, I can play this, or I can play this. Go.
Turtle or Chaos?
Look at his face.
I just like how you just hear the door slam. It's just a turtle or chaos. You must decide now in the studio.
I have to vote now?
Yes.
Yes.
Say how you feel, dude.
Can I just explain how I feel about both of them, and then I'll make my decision?
Alright, go.
For Chaos, he has more experience than Turtle. Right now, what Turtle has is he understands what's the strongest for Caitlyn and Draven. He brings a different pull to our team, and Chaos is gonna need time to learn those champions well. Wild Turtle already understands that. He's played other roles also, so he understands a lot of the game, but he doesn't have the experience. For Chaos, he's been around for so long, and having Turtle on the team showed us what we can do with different things, and how we kind of restrict ourselves with certain champions and comps. The difference in this week is we did prepare more and we took it more seriously. I feel like if we did that with Chaos, it would be fine too. But since Turtle's mechanics are way up, like up there, and he's much more aggressive and he meshes well with what you kind of do and what we kind of do, I feel like Turtle's better right now, but I feel like it would take a little bit of time for Chaos to get to like where all the strong ADs are, because all we do is play MF. When are we making are we gonna talk about this as a group later?
This honestly sounds like a very easy decision for Wild Turtle, honestly, because they're like, well, if Chaos could learn the meta champs and was motivated when he's been having motivation problems recently, like, this just seems so clearly like you should go with Wild Turtle.
It's already been made.
It's already been made?
Just now.
Okay.
It's really clear Wild Turtle is the better decision for us.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
But fuck, dude.
My job's not to be everyone's mom, it's to be freaking a professional player and the owner to do things that will help us.
For his side, why I can kind of understand Chaos's point of view, for when it comes to like, he should have been able to do the bare minimum, but I feel like he felt like, well, actually no, after hearing your side, then it's not really like that.
What?
He had a conversation with himself.
It's like we should be more strict and like.
I am being more strict. I freaking told him that he messed up. That's like being nice, like you messed up.
What amazes me about this, by the way, is like the kind of where they're trying to find the point at which they're going to make their decision is so alien to me, because the point to me would be, right, the guy already was out drinking with Fangirl.
Yep.
And then the key to me is that that's already quite bad, but then the idea that you won't like properly acknowledge it, that's it. I'd already got to that point in time. You know? Like, I don't need any more than that. We don't need to have a big discussion.
Yeah.
We agreed that everyone's replaceable.
Yeah. And he said that he doesn't feel like.
He said that you say replace me, then replace me.
Okay.
Alright, so we just finished day 2 of week 6 of LCS. We managed to go 3-0 to our first sweep of the season, and I'm really, really glad that we beat COG. And yeah, so we'll be heading out to PAX East this weekend, and I heard it's really cold, so that's gonna suck, but at least everyone's in a good mood. That's good.
Suffering is gonna be really minimal.
Who's the cast of characters we got up there, Dan?
I
so
don't
over there we
know.
have Wild
There's
Turtle,
Dan.
our new AD,
for the last week of LCS. There's Odd One in the jungle.
Oh, there's Jack on the side again,
Reginald
too.
in the mid. Darius top, special support.
I guess this is for TSM as a whole.
Must be
you
just
guys
a
are known
panel
as
to
like
show off.
or you're known to have like the biggest community and the strongest
Oh,
fan
pause
base.
this
What
a
do you guys?
second. Dude, I hope this isn't what I think it is. Do you remember in this, I think this is the episode, 'cause I'm remembering someone comes up with a mic. I think it's where it was the first ever sighting of that girl who now is pretty famous. She's like a streamer for, is it Dig? That pterodactyls.
Oh,
win. 'Cause
yeah.
remember, she went up to a mic and she says
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's special, like, oh, I'd
feel
like
like
to
you
make
do
this girl
differently
happy
to
happy or
attract
something.
that
That was like the
over
first time
other
she was
teams.
ever played.
So I think that our players
if that's gonna
have
be on
really
this.
strong relationships as like friends, and we get along really well compared to other teams. So I think that's where we really shine as a team.
My name's Sheila.
Yes!
I actually
Oh
called
my
it.
God, you
Actually,
called it.
Because for people who don't know, she's like a famous CS streamer actually now.
She used to be friends with my Renegades team.
I
So
think she actually dated Chad. I think that's even public knowledge. I think that's like hidden information.
And my question is for X Special.
It's for who?
X Special.
All right, X Special.
Now, I main 80 carry personally, and I know you said that you were a sad hamster. Can I make you a happy hamster?
You being here, I'm very happy. Thank you.
Give me a break.
Oh my.
Oops.
My question's for.
Oh my.
My question's for Wild Turtle. Right now, you're a starter for Cloud9 and you're a sub for TSM. So if Cloud9, if they end up qualifying in LCS in a couple of weeks, would you leave TSM or stay as a sub on TSM or what?
I would be TSM. Just wanted to thank everyone that came out here. We really appreciate you guys. We don't get to go to PAX East that often, and we don't get to go to Boston that often. And we're really happy that you guys came to the booths and let us just like sign things for you guys. And we really appreciate you guys.
Well, I've been signing like all day, and it's like super exciting. I love signing stuff. Honestly, so many awesome fans, so it's actually not that bad. But it's been a long day. I think I've signed 1,000 autographs so far.
By the way, this is why also League of Legends as a game blew up in a way that other games didn't. Is not only was the viewership crazy compared to like CS, but the fan attendance was like nothing I've ever seen.
Oh, it's
before.
crazy, yeah.
When I would go at the same era to a StarCraft event, you'd have a few fans, like a couple, maybe like one guy would come up after an interview and ask for a photo. This was where you got those things where there would be lines of people, like
yeah.
and then people are just joining the line. It would never end.
I mean, it was crazy how popular it was. I mean, I remember on like Own 3D when Hotshot was assembling an IKEA sofa, there were like 25,000 concurrent viewers. Which, if you think 25,000 is big for a streamer now, think about how big it was then. It's absolutely insane.
And there was obviously so few of
I love my fans.
Yeah.
The only redeeming thing about PAX for me was the fans. Everything else, like the schedule, sucks.
The Skelks. Just on his own.
Not even going to the fan meet. Rejected.
That's also, by the way, a mistake by Kelks. It's like if I were him, I would have still come
that?
along. I assume someone's girlfriend, probably like I don't know.
Yay! Don't film me.
Literally says, "Don't film me," and they put her in there.
They've also got a DDR mat.
So we've decided to let Chaos go.
That's that then. All right, sound.
The truth is that if he just spent his full time streaming and creating content for people, he can just make more than LCS players. And we want him to do well, but we just feel
actually,
like
pause that a sec. That is what's funny is people won't realize at the time that was true because at the
Yes.
time, like your salary, I'm sure from a team was very, very low, like
Yeah.
1 or 2,000 or something.
I think. Trying to remember, even when I was running Renegades, I think it was something like. I'm forgetting if it was $12,500 per split per player
Yes,
that was given
the
us.
stipend.
Yeah, that was the stipend from Riot. So considering that, remember, part of TSM's core business, even to this day, is their guide websites. Like they own all these guide websites you probably don't even know. They own the Blitz app, for example. So Reginald has actually built a very impressive network of websites and apps that makes him a lot of money. That's where most of TSM's money comes from. But at this time, all of the players were required to write guides for solomid.net and to create these vlogs. And I think the argument here is if he did more of that and streamed, the TSM brand could prop him up and he would make more money, which is actually probably true.
Probably is,
yeah.
After what happened, we're going to be choosing to go with Wild Turtle.
Okay.
And that means that you're off the team.
Okay.
We have what that means is you're gonna have to move out
He says today.
today.
That's
but
pause
we're
that.
gonna
That is fucking mental. Like the idea, because remember, Chaos was like one of the like main players from the beginning of TSM.
Yeah.
He won loads of championships.
Also,
It's
like
you have to leave. Oh, okay. Well, that's a shame then. I'll maybe next week.
why couldn't he create content within the
now.
house as well?
Get you a flight.
Maybe they're
for
just
everyone.
worried.
Keep him as a sub.
Maybe they were just worried about him being disruptive.
Go. And we're gonna help you with this process. Jack's gonna go into detail with you of what he can do for you.
I've always wanted to win Season 3. That will never change.
This is horrible.
This is the only time you notice, by the way, where it's Reginald who can't actually look people in the eye. It's just so awkward.
Still want to work with the team. And I think from this, everyone is more focused. And I was actually looking forward to playing with everyone focused to the maximum.
As a team owner, I feel like just taking this route for me, personally, this is for me, and I made the decision. Not the other guys, but for me, I want to control the direction of my company, and as a player, we have conflicting personalities. That's really obvious, and that's why we have so many problems. And whether it's selfish or not,
it's not true.
I'm
It's
not
not
going to stick to
conflicting
this.
personalities.
It's just that I made this decision. I feel
This
like
is
it's
so
gonna be.
awkward. Pause this a sec, because the reason why this is so fucked is, right, I don't know if they just didn't explain it properly to Keox, but he's already been kicked essentially. They're just now informing him of that. They've even told me he has to get out the fucking house that day.
Yeah.
So now Keox is doing that awkward thing that people do, like when they're really young and they're like they break up with, or they're like, but what if I just tried harder? And then they're like,
Yeah.
look, I've made my decision. Please don't make this harder for me now. Like that's like what's going on right now. Why is he continuing debating this?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he doesn't have anywhere to go.
That's true.
Like, he can't just leave. He has to pack up his shit. Like,
what a little kid Keox is as well, because like you've literally just been fired from the company. So that's when you then decide to pull out. Like, you know, I've always wanted to win Season 3, and I always will. So, why pull out now? Say that a week earlier. If he'd have made some speech, I'd probably still be on the team.
I think you guys will be good. Like, Turtle's good, Reggie's motivated, so you guys will be good. And for you, what do I have to say about you? Don't rage as much.
This is like signing a yearbook at the end of high school.
So cringy.
The Bill smiles.
I'm so excited.
I love you forever.
It's a lot to sort out. I like half expected this, but no, not half. Like maybe 20%. But yeah. I think it's a more personal decision from Reggie. So just.
This is the like mind fucking stage of the process where it's like, you know what? I think it'll be better for everyone. Fresh start. You know, you guys be more focused. Fuck it, I'll probably just I'll find.
I mean, he didn't get on another team. That's the thing.
Yeah, this is the end of
is
his
that
whole
he
career.
never played.
Except here's the brutal thing. Do you remember this piece of trivia? Like that question when they asked before, but Wild Turtle, you were on Cloud9, but if you want to remember, they famously offered him the ADC spot, and he said no, and then they wanted to have the most dominant split like ever.
Well, Wild Turtle actually was a mid laner at first.
Sure.
When he subbed in, I remember
used to
that.
be the jungler, if you remember.
Yeah.
No, the real joke of this is, like, not only did this actually make TSM better, it actually allowed Cloud9's real lineup to be formed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that none of those garbage teams in the LCS even bothered to pick KX.
This
He's
guy,
surely
dude.
good
This
enough to
guy.
continue playing in the
that
LCS.
was also part of it, though, is when he explained why he didn't join Cloud9. This is actually where people made that classic mistake of where they don't understand like how something can be wrong in the short term but can be right in the long term. So the reasoning Keox told me when he was staying at your house as to why he didn't want to play for any of the teams and there was no point is because they're not going to be as good as TSM, pretty reasonable estimation, like every domestic tournament. And then secondly, one thing he was totally correct about was from having gone to all those Chinese teams, he realised, like, holy shit, if all these teams in these team houses are practicing at this level, TSM's never going to win World. You never do it. So if I'm going to go to an even worse team, I'll never happen. So
that's fair.
He wasn't wrong on that, actually. Like, if you were looking years down the line, you could.
Real brat.
He could have played for anyone.
You're a real brat. I think that's the best way to describe you. You're a real brat.
There's also
But,
leaving like this when you're bench.
I know, I miss you too.
Yeah.
Miss you too.
You should have gone for redemption.
I know you're going through like love troubles and shit, but it's not a problem unless you make one. I wish you the
Why is
best.
he giving all this like personal advice to everyone on the way out? Like, you know what?
This is so bad.
Keep giving that groundskeeper hell. Like,
Some
just
things
like
he said though,
this is like yearbook signing, dude.
It's like
It's like,
always have those
we're going off to
milkshakes,
college.
Yeah, like he wasn't so apologetic, and he needs to earn his spot back. It's like it shouldn't be like apology. Like obviously I said it's my fault, and then
Dude, he's
I
actually
said,
about to like
if
bust
it's a
out
problem,
live.
talk to me, and then
Love is not having to say
I'll
it,
fix
so
it.
it's, you know, like one of those like.
And dude, come on, like the day one.
X Special
season
was
3,
famous
you're
for those
late.
like
And I was
weird
dude, that's
philosophical
unacceptable.
quotes that meant nothing.
I was pro enough to tell you that.
Dude, he actually just said I was bro enough to tell you that. Because that's the part I'd forgotten that was the whole TSM culture, and it's like
Bay life, bro.
That was the stupid.
I was bro enough
that alone
to tell
was
you
enough
that.
of a reason to hate TSM.
Yes,
and all their
exactly.
fans. That mentality, like we're the jobs
No.
of esports.
But anyways, you're just real bratty, dude. You're just a brat.
It's so awkward, isn't it? It's so awkward. It's the way he just... Because, by the way, the sad thing is as well, he was also... The real joke of why Reginald thinks him and Chaos have conflicting personalities, because they're the only two people who have a personality on this team. The other three are just super shy nerds. So that's why at the end he just tried to pick it up like, you know what? You'll get him. You'll figure... This guy's going to figure it out. It's like so cringy. It's so cringy.
Just remember, guys, this is why we hate TSM fans. TSM fans loved this shit.
Oh,
they thought it was good and that these guys were cool. Like, we couldn't let that stand in 2013.
By the way, this drama was enormous when Chaos got kicked.
Huge.
Nah, you're a
This was
brat.
actually making some TSM fans think about like quitting being a TSM fan.
But
Too bad they didn't.
you'll be good. I think in terms of play, you're really solid. And you're still growing up.
What I also don't understand is this as well, right? I would expect it to be the opposite way. Like, what happens is Chaos is going to leave the team, so everyone comes in, you know, one by one. They say goodbye and all that. Why is he the one doing like a little visit on everyone? Like,
Not the same level as Andy, but good luck though. Good luck.
handshake to make it all across.
Honestly though, I think this entire experience made me stronger as a person.
Like, it didn't though, did it? It's only just happened like
the
10
3
minutes
days
ago.
that they were gone.
It's already made him
right?
stronger.
I'm just talking with camera guy now. I'm actually talking to camera, but the 3 days that they were gone is like huge emotional swings, like up and down for me. You go from like super negative.
By the way, I guarantee he watched the LCS games, and I bet he tilted off the face of the planet. When
Of
Wild
course.
got that penta.
Yeah, of
Because remember, that
course.
was like a close
You're like
game.
ultra positive, then down to super negative again.
Because you know, the dream here, by the way, if anyone watched that Breaking Point one, his dream here was obviously the Breaking Point scenario. What he wanted was Wild Turtle to come in, like fuck the whole game.
Yeah,
up,
obviously.
And then they come back like Chaos, like, have you learned your lesson? He's like, yeah, I've learned my lesson now. I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do, Reggie. And then he just gets back in the team to me. That's why he even had that whole speech prepared, like, I want to win season 3. Obviously, he didn't realise that the team would have their only like 3-0 week and be like, you know what, actually, Chaos, get the fuck out today.
And it's like, I don't know, 4 dudes that you've lived with for 2 years, and all of a sudden you're not a part of it.
at the tournament. So for like 3 days, like stuff was going through my head, and then there's also the community like backlash at what was happening. So it was like, I don't know. Overall, it made me stronger as a person, but the entire situation and how it turned out is like, I suppose it's acceptable. But life goes on.
Where? Oh, Sway does this big Dyrus. Oh, wait, pause this a second, because I remember this. This led to one of the most hilarious, like, harsh comments I've ever seen. Where in a second, right, Dyrus, because he has like an emotional response to it, because unlike the rest of him, he's not a robot. He actually like emotionally responds, and obviously he feels guilty, you know, because he sort of did too. And then he says this thing where I know what he really means is he sort of means to say something like, you know, if I can do anything for you, just let me know. But instead he says like he messes his words up and he just goes, ask me anything. And then I remember someone on Reddit just put in a comment like, most inappropriate AMA ever. Like, just watch when he says it. That's just an asshole comment.
No longer TSM, dude.
You understand why I'm sad now.
Yeah.
The girlfriend's not the only thing. Ask me anything.
You see what I mean? Like, I know what he means by that. It's just like, you know, I'll tell you whatever you want. But like, it just seems really weird. I don't like, ask me anything.
At least somebody actually treated him like a human being.
Dyrus actually, by the way, this is one of the reasons I actually thought it was sucked that he just like completely misunderstood of all of our banter and like hated us at the end of his pro career, because he actually seemed like the coolest teammate of all of them. Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is, like, I'm actually friends with his dad.
Okay.
And like, when I go to Hawaii, I've met up with his dad and like gone out to dinner.
On Twitter, like,
yes, he's great.
By the way, when I've passed comment on anyone elsewhere, like Febverin's dad posting crazy shit, nobody will ever, as a shit poster, nobody will ever have a parent like Dyrus's dad. He has the maddest Twitter account I've ever seen. He's had some crazy shit on there.
I love
it's hilarious,
dad.
Though.
I love
as a character. He is hilarious. Yeah. He's also, by the way, like the literal caricature of what someone from like a flyover state is like in America. He's like the most.
Look, I love spending time with him. So I first hung out with Dyrus's dad in 2012, like Worlds, because everyone else was much younger than me. So Dyrus's dad was just at a party with a bunch of people, and I was bored. So we just ended up drinking the whole night and like talking about his time as like in the Navy and as a plumber in Hawaii. And yeah, I still like keep in touch with him. And last time Susie and I were in Hawaii, we hung out with him, you know, quite a bit, and it was great. So I actually really like Dyrus's dad. I really like Dyrus.
Before the best friend.
I'll definitely stay in touch.
Right, wait a second.
I guess,
dude, he actually said something there. Like, Dyrus said something like, you're my best friend. And then Keox goes, I'll definitely stay in touch. Like,
it doesn't need to be said.
I know, that's so inappropriate as well. Like,
I go back home, stream for a bit. I don't know. And then work it out with another team. Try and get back into the scene, you know.
It's also the way Reginald says it's
be fine. I think I'll be fine, guys.
Yeah,
keep cheering me on. Because
right, peace. See ya.
I'll be back in the scene, stronger than ever. And again, thanks for your support.
TSM fans, they won't support you. If anything, they were probably the biggest haters of you as soon as you left.
All right, oh man,
I've got to go now though. That's the thing.
All right, we have to watch this one at least.
Let me have a look.
It's
that's
1
only
minute
long. Yeah, let's do it. Right, this is the real classic.
Okay, don't rely on luck, just rely on skill. We're putting our best effort.
Right, the key thing to remember here, pause it a sec. So obviously the draft's partly done. Right, the key thing to remember here is
so there can only be a certain amount of like NA teams in one group.
In the same group, basically.
Yeah.
So look, at the moment, right, if they were actually smart, what they would realise is, right, we can't be in Group A because CLG's there.
Yes.
And we can't be. That's it, actually.
Yeah,
There's
right
only
now.
one we can't be in.
So calm down.
Oh my! If you get in Group C, we get a wild card 100%. By the way.
Ah,
Yeah, if you get-
pause. This is what they hadn't remembered though. Is it's also I think based on the teams that were remaining. So I think it was something like they think they're going to get into. I think they said
C,
but they're
yes.
not because there's like another reason. I can't remember what it is.
Yes.
We're
we
gonna
get
find
wild card 100% because if they can't, we can't have.
Group D is the
HBK.
worst.
Do you
by
even believe that shocks, by the way?
By far.
If we get in Group D, it'll be by far the worst.
If you get in Group D, we can still get Oregon
Oh,
too.
it was my boy Froggen who actually
Yes, it
pulled
was
the
Froggen.
cursed ball out.
I know.
He needs to pick us right now.
No, oh yeah, he needs to pick us right now.
This TSM thinks he's in C.
Yeah, he thinks he's in C with SKT.
The second best.
They didn't realize. I think it's because of.
Okay, we have a shot.
It has to do with the seeding of the teams, I think, within each region.
D.
This is to ensure that not only is this draw
Look at that expression. That's amazing. I tell you, what?
valid,
Wait,
but so
what?
are future draws. So Team Solo Mid will face off against LG
What?
Gaming and KT Rollstar.
Wait, we would be in.
in Group E,
Oh
the second
my
seed
God!
coming
You
out of
know,
North America.
EDG and KT. Oh shit! EDG and EDG and Crew Tigers can't be in Group D, so we were automatically.
That's it.
That's it. The joke here is they were literally waiting, like, which group are we going to get? And
Because
they only
there's
ever
a
could have gotten this
because
one.
there's already a Korean and
And a
Chinese
Chinese one,
team
yes.
in this group. They got bumped
But the reason
over.
why that's epic is because these idiots, these two like fucking Three Stooge level motherfuckers, were literally sat like, let's see what group are you, and they didn't know that at that point in the group it was already determined where they were going to go.
Yep.
Okay, we have a shot.
Ready?
D.
That's
This
the
is
D's
to
gonna
ensure
lose
that not
too.
only is this draw valid,
That
but
moment.
so are future draws. So Team Solo Mid will face off against LG Gaming and KT Rollstar.
Wait, we would be in.
in Group E,
Oh
the second
my
seed
God!
coming
You
out of
know,
North America.
EDG and KT. Oh shit! EDG and
Reginald, as he's explained.
EDG and Crew Tigers can't be in Group D, so we were automatically in Group D the moment Froggen pulled out
I don't even know if he
HQ.
still understands what
This is gonna be very fucking hard.
That's mental.
Oh god. Oh man, there's actually some really good stuff we didn't get around to. I had a
We'll do another one.
yeah.
I'm sure
you
we'll
would.
have time.
You sure?
Yeah.
I
No,
wanna-
we'll do another
Oh
episode. of
yeah,
this.
yeah.
There's a lot
Okay.
More, there's loads more videos to watch.
Yeah, there's
lot
a
of classics.
bunch of really good stuff here, especially like the the cursed gaming house cam
that's one of my
where
favorites of all time.
St. Vicious goes off on elements because they actually thought it was going to be a good idea to like record all of this for some reason.
That was real, like Big Brother level shit. You know, like where they just have people arguing pointlessly in houses. I was almost on that.
I don't know why they were like, you know what we should definitely do is record our house 24/7, all the shit that these guys say to each other. What a terrible idea. And it was streamed live all the time, so they couldn't even control it at all.
That's mental, isn't it?
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of the 9 Summoning Insight presented by AT&T. We'll be back hopefully with a live episode with guests to discuss the playoffs next week. Thank you for dealing with the upload issues that we've been having, and we hope you enjoyed this all the same. Appreciate it.